Hey guys, how we doing today? All right, we're gonna do a little video on something that I'm finding interesting, that I'm finding in my lambing season so far. Now, I don't know. This isn't like scientifically based because I don't have enough information on it to know for sure. But this is something that I found really interesting. So usually when I breed my ewes in the fall, I try to time it so that they have their lambs a little bit later in the spring, so it's warmer out. Because I like the idea of lambing in a pasture and not having to have heat lamps and all that stuff going on. But this last fall, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to breed really early, and I wanted to see if I raised the Katahdin lambs up like I would a Suffolk or a Hampshire lamb. I wanted to see how they could compete. In our area, 4-H is big. Market lambs are a big thing, and most of them are Suffolk or Hampshire or a cross of the two. And that's usually what you see in your market lambs when you go to the fair and you see them being auctioned off and stuff. That's usually what you'll see. And they're just raised differently than like the Katahdin are. The Katahdin are a little bit more of a slow growing. They're not a wool sheep, they're a hair sheep. I'll usually leave them on, the girls I'll leave on mom like until breeding time in the fall, and they can self-wean if they want to. The boys I'll leave on mom until they're at earliest like 10 weeks, 10, 12 weeks before I even take the boys off. I'm not pounding anybody with grain. It's just basically on pasture and they're doing their thing and they're a little bit slower to grow. But I'm like, I want to see what happens if I raise them up, if I pull them from moms at a younger age and, hit them with the grain and stuff to see what their growth and stuff is like, what they finish out to look like and stuff, if I raised them out like a traditional market lamb. So that was my goal this year. And yes, we started lambing in February. And it was interesting, but I want to tell you what happened. So back in the fall, when I put them in together, they came into heat. Most of my ewes did. But the heats did not seem as strong as they normally would. I flushed them out like I normally would about 2 weeks before breeding. Flushing out your ewes is when you hit them with grain. All of a sudden they haven't had grain all summer. They've been on pasture. And then 2 weeks before breeding, you start graining them. And the purpose behind that is flushing them out is to encourage them. The thought behind it is to get them ready for breeding, get them ready to release more eggs for ovulating, and hopefully increase your chances of getting multiples, right? Okay. So I did that just like I normally would. And my ram did his business and life was magical. But what I'm finding really interesting, and I have seen some journal reports on this, I've seen some papers written about this, and I was always curious if it was true, and I'm definitely finding it to be true. But it said that if you breed the earlier in the year that you breed, so like the earlier in the fall that you breed, the chance of having multiples is lowered. So in other words, if you wait a month from like their first heat, don't breed them on their first heat, aim more for the second heat or later into the fall, they'll release more eggs, their ovulating is stronger, and your chance for multiples will increase. And I will say that has been 100% true this year. Every single ewe that I have that lambed out had one less than what she normally would have. So my ewes that have always had triplets had twins this year. My girls that always have had twins had singles this year. I didn't have one set of triplets this year. And last year I had multiple sets of triplets. So very interesting, very, very interesting to see that happen. I mean, the caveat to that is, you're starting earlier, which I guess is good, but my ewes then bounced back much easier. They look fantastic. Last year, my girls, after they had their triplets, I was like, oh man, okay, I got to make sure that I'm really pounding them with grain enough to make sure they can keep their milk supply, they can look good afterwards. But this year, these gals look like they're like mom bods are rocking this year. They look great because they only had 1 or 2 babies this year, and more than enough milk and nice solid babies on the ground, but not the multiples that I would normally have. So I have cats that are climbing on stuff that need to not be here anymore. If anybody wants cats, let me know. So interesting. So yes, that seemed to be true for me this year. Very, very crazy, but it makes sense that those earlier ovulations, those first cycles in the breeding season, it's like the body is just getting warmed up, just getting started, just getting going. So it was pretty interesting to see that that is 100% accurate this year. So what will I do next year? Heck if I know. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow yet. I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess we'll see. I'll be able to make a better decision this fall once I see how these lambs grow out. If they end up being able to be, you know, really amazing and have big gains, if they look like they would, you know, contend well against the traditional market lamb breeds, you know, that might be something then that I continue to do. Would I love to see the Katahdin more in the show world up in my area? Yeah, absolutely. I love bringing out things that are different and unusual, not commonly seen. I love to be able to do that. So, I mean, if that would be something possible, yeah, why not, man? We'll try it. So we'll see. So at the end of this fall, we'll have a better idea of what we're doing on our gains and how things have gone. And we'll see. But yeah, very interesting. The early breedings and stuff, we're definitely seeing smaller numbers of lambs. But just wanted to come to you guys with that. Something interesting that I'm finding trending so far this year, and hope your lambing season is going well. We have goats that are going to be starting, so my kidding season is going to be starting in like a month. I have a month to kind of catch my breath, and then we'll start that. So never a dull moment, guys, but we'll come back at you again soon.